Rewriting equations and formulas. Now, the good thing about rewriting equations and formulas is that we use the same process as solving linear equations. One of the main differences is that we aren't actually going to get a numeric answer, though, like we normally do. Our goal is still to isolate the variable that we are solving for. So, if I were to have the formula P equals 2L plus 2W, this is the formula for the perimeter of a rectangle, and it tells me to solve it for W, what I have to realize is that W is the variable that I'm trying to isolate. So I still need to keep in mind my order of operations. And since I am solving for a variable and not just strictly calculating, I have to undo my order of operations. So I have to start with any addition and subtraction. So as I look at this P equals 2L plus 2W, I need to get rid of any addition and subtraction. Well, here is the term that has my variable, and I have a positive 2L right here that's being added to it. So I need to subtract that 2L from both sides because I have to keep it balanced. Now on the left side, you might be looking at this going, well, I can't take P minus 2L because they're not like terms. And that's correct. We can't actually combine them, so we just write it as P minus 2L. On the right side, 2L minus 2L cancels out to be a 0, and we're left with a positive 2W. So that took care of addition and subtraction over here by the variable we're trying to find. Now I move up to multiplication and division, and that's what I have to undo next. Well, if you look here, I've got it times by 2, so I use my inverse operation of division, and I divide by 2. And over here I have to divide by 2. Well, again, I can't really divide by 2 to get a number, so I'm just going to write it as a big fraction, divide by 2, because remember, a fraction bar also means divide. When I do that, I have P minus 2L, all divided by 2, is equal to, well, the 2 and the 2 cancel out to be 1, so I have equal to W. So for this one, this is one option for my equation. Now let's go back to this division here. When I go back to doing this divide by 2, I can divide each thing on the left side individually by 2. And when that happens, I get P over 2, P divided by 2, minus, and then here, those 2's cancel out and reduce to 1's, so I would just be left with L is equal to W. This is another alternative. These two expressions are equivalent. They are the same thing, but they're just written slightly different. Either one would be fine. Okay, here's our first set of practice ones. It says solve each of the following for the indicated variable. I have 4r minus 3t equals 7 plus 8w plus 9. And it wants me to solve it for t. So t is the variable that I'm going to try to isolate. So what I need to do is I need to start getting rid of things that shouldn't be over by the t. And remember to follow your order of operations, but we're undoing them, so we need to work backwards. I've got a 4r here that I need to subtract away, because right now I've got my t term and I've got a positive 4r. Now keep in mind this minus sign or negative sign, however you want to look at it, goes with the 3. It is not attached to the 4r. So the 4r is still a positive, which means to get rid of it I have to subtract 4r from both sides of my equation. On the left side, 4r minus 4r turns out to be 0, and I'm left with, bring down that sign, that negative sign, negative 3t equals, now on this side I don't have anything that I can combine the r's with, so I have 7 plus 8w plus 9 minus 4r. Now at this point, hopefully you've realized that I do have something I can combine here though. I have a 7 plus a 9 that I can combine. And if you already did that before you minus the 4r, that is fine. But sometimes people don't realize it until they actually write it down. So I'm going to go ahead and combine those like terms. And since they are on the same side of the equal sign, I'm not doing inverses. I'm just combining them exactly how it says. So I would do 7 plus 9, which gives me a 16. And then I still have my plus 8w minus 4r. And that's all equal to that negative 3t. Now I still don't have t completely by itself. I have it times this negative 3, well, to undo times, I need to do the inverse. I need to divide. So option number 1 is you can just do one big fraction like this, and then be left with t equals 16 plus 8w minus 4r, all of that over negative 3. Or, if you wanted, you could do them individually. You could do 16 divided by negative 3 plus 8w divided by negative 3 minus 4r divided by negative 3. That would also be okay. Another thing you could do is, instead of leaving it as 16 divided by negative 3, you could pull that negative sign out front and do negative 16 over 3. You could pull that negative sign out here and have it as a minus 8w over 3. And then this negative sign, when you pull it out, would give you a minus a negative, so it would be plus a positive. I'm not fussy about which way you write it. If you want to do it just as one big fraction, that's fine. If you want to do them individually and leave the negatives down in the denominator, that's fine. If you want to move the negatives out front, that's fine. Any of those answers are equivalent. Okay, here's our next practice one. This time I want you to solve it for D. Well, this one, I've got D on the inside here. I've got a 2, a J, and a 4 that I have to get rid of. So this one you have several different options. If you want to distribute the 2 out and the J out, you can. I'm going to choose not to because I recognize this as 3 little individual pieces. Now, when I look at my order of operations, I need to get rid of addition subtraction. But this one has a little catch. My addition subtraction is right there, the 4 plus D, but I can't get rid of it first because it is inside parentheses, and parentheses will actually be the last thing I do when I'm undoing my operations. So even though there's addition and subtraction in here, because it's inside parentheses, I have to wait until I get to that level. So now I'm going to move to multiplication and division. I'm going to go ahead and choose to get rid of this times by 2 first. So I'm going to divide everything by 2 and divide everything by 2. Those cancel out. So I have 4 plus D still inside parentheses times that J is equal to 7. Now I'm going to get rid of that timesing by J because there is another multiplication. I can't get inside those parentheses yet. So I'm going to divide everything by J. And over here they cancel out, so I will have 4 plus D is equal to 7 divided by J. Now I have to go inside the parentheses. I don't have anything else around here. I don't have exponents outside my parentheses. I don't have anything. Now I have to go inside my parentheses. So really, at this point, I don't need the parentheses anymore. Now I can get rid of that 4, and I do that by subtracting 4 from both sides. And over here, I am only left with D equals. Now on this side, when I subtract, I can't actually take 7 minus 4 because it's 7 over J, so it's actually a fraction. And in order to subtract fractions, you have to have a common denominator. So I'm just going to leave it written as 7 over J minus 4. All right, here's our last set. So go ahead and pause the video and see what you come up with for these two problems. Now notice it's 2 sets of directions. It says solve it for y. So first you're going to isolate the variable y, then you are going to plug in the given value. On this first one here, I got rid of the 4 by dividing, and when you divide 22 by 4, that reduces down to 11 over 2. And then I subtracted 2. I couldn't combine that 11 over 2x minus 2, so that's my first part. That would be my equation for y. And then I plugged x equals 2 in, and when I solved that out, I got 9. On the second one, this is actually a conversion formula for Fahrenheit and Celsius. First thing I did was I got rid of multiplying by 5 over 9. And now remember, I would do that by dividing by 5 over 9, but when it's fractions, instead of dividing by a fraction, we multiply by the reciprocal, which is why I multiplied both sides by 9 over 5. Once I did that, I had this minus 32 to get rid of, so I had to add 32 to both sides, and I ended up getting this for my equation for y. You might be up here looking at this thinking, well, shouldn't we get rid of addition and subtraction first, this minus 32? What you have to realize is it's in parentheses, so it doesn't come until last. Same thing with the y plus 2 up here. It was inside parentheses, so it has to wait because it's actually a parenthesis operation. Back down here, when I plugged 20 in for my value of c, calculated that out, and I got 68 for that one.